Alrighty, guys. With that though, we have an interview coming up with our own very toasted cat and grow to talk about an SRT mod where you get to play co-op in the game. I watched them play it. It is very exciting. So we'll hand it over to Mr. SirBorris to talk with them.
Alrighty, thank you guys.
Welcome back, everybody, to the interview segment of Spyrothon 8, and boy, do I have an exciting one today. Probably one of the most unique runs that we have in this event, the co-op 120% for SRT. With me, I've got ToastedKat and Groxu. Gents, how are we?
Doing good.
Yay! Cool. We're good.
That's what I like to hear. That's the enthusiasm. Guys, like I just said, you have one of the most unique runs in this event, the co-op 120, and you're looking to fully complete the game in co-op. That's something we've not seen before. Have you ever shown this off in another run, or are we getting a world exclusive here?
No, this is the first time it's being shown off at a run. It's actually like there's only 2 other people who've even like done this, or like 3. So not even many people have like attempted to run this at all.
Okay, world exclusive. We like to hear it. You heard it here first. Legitimately. Look, ToastedKat, you are the world record holder in this category solo. Groxu, you're second place, not too far behind. I know you were grinding away at NBS. I'm not sure if you still are or not. But what made you guys want to work on this together? What brought you together to play this co-op mod?
Well, personally, like I think for me it was actually that, and like there are 2 best players basically in the category that like want to play together and see how much faster the actual time can be brought down. Just by combining those 2 best players together and seeing what they can accomplish together, I suppose. At least that's for me.
Also, we're kind of friends already. I mean, might as well,
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, of course.
He's kind of cool.
It's a nice social event, right?
I guess.
I suppose so. Look, that leads really well into you guys are both great individual players in this route, right? What were the routing efforts like to create this category, right? How does the co-op route differ from the solo play route? Is it a lot? Is it not much? Like, how would you say it went?
It's different overall because, we can do some stuff and we cannot do some stuff, like depending on the player, because like the second player is technically kind of a ghost, but basically like we could do things together. We can do some things together, which obviously like leads to cleaning up stuff, and we can also clean up like different areas, different branches of some certain levels. So like it changes things quite a bit, but it isn't like some drastic that like you cut off like half of the time of the original route or something like that. But it's still pretty unique, I'd say. Like given what we work with basically.
Yeah, you might assume because we're playing 2 players in a 1-player game, it might just cut the time directly in half. But it ends up a lot of the levels are designed for like 1 player in mind, and even when branches path, it doesn't always work with what we have. Like you can't always just like split up with what we have to work with, so it doesn't actually end up saving as much time as you might think.
Let's talk about that point you said before there, Groxu, around how player 2 is a bit of a ghost. I wanted to talk about limitations within the routing, right? So you've just said now that obviously you can't, it's not like you're cutting the time in half because you've got 2 players. The levels are specifically designed for 1 player, but you mentioned before the second player is a bit of a ghost. Is that a limitation you've had to work around, and how have you worked around that?
Yeah, of course it is. It is like the limitations in a round that there are plenty of them, but basically we have to work with them a lot. Like for example, obviously, as I said, player 2 is a little bit of a ghost. Like he doesn't really exist. The only way that he can actually pick up gems by is actually sparks. Like because you have sparks, he actually picks up those gems. You can't use whirlwinds. You cannot pick up like gems from that are laying on the ground if you don't have sparks. You cannot get like spring chests and stuff like that. And also like you have to keep in mind that this game, because like it's kind of like in order to like save on resources and stuff, a lot of areas just like a lot of areas that player one doesn't visit, basically just like there are no objects spawning in those areas and stuff like that. So like this is also something that we have to keep in mind, and it's kind of hard to to keep track of that. Usually, like we have to yell at each other basically, oh, this thing despawned, this thing is somewhere else and stuff like that. So
It's actually ridiculous how many things will like despawn as soon as you turn the camera away. Like as soon as they get off screen, it
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore. And there's so much of the
Yeah.
run you have to like plan for that and make sure that things are loaded in when the other person gets there.
no.
That sounds very, very difficult. I'm sure we're going to be looking forward to the commentary there as well. If you guys have to yell at each other to get that across,
Oh yeah,
it's going to be one of the best parts of the run.
The whole run.
Yeah.
Yeah, nonstop.
Look, you guys, when you obviously this is a mod, right? So we're not actually playing base game. There's no co-op available within SRT itself natively. And as a result of that, when you introduce mods into this sort of environment, you have those sort of unintended side effects or something. Some things can happen that are not part of the base game. Have you guys discovered anything like this? Have you found any issues that have mod specific? And if so, are you going to incorporate them into the run?
Yeah, there's like plenty of things. Like we said, like the way the mod works is like the game's not designed around having 2 players because it's a single player game. So the mod kind of has to work around that fact and kind of just give the second player like as many like you give them as much as you can, like within the limits of the engine, but some things you just can't do. So there's a lot of things that Groxu won't be able to do a lot of the time, and like either I'll have to accommodate for him or just like you'll have to have an alternate way to do it. Or like for example, like for dragons, like for whatever reason player 2 just cannot free dragons, so I will have to like be going around collecting all the dragons, and Groxu will just have to like leave them for me. There's nothing we can do about that. So there's plenty of limitations. One of the biggest ones we're going to be working with is normally in 120 we use keyboard and mouse for supercharging, and what that lets you do is like turn Spyro more, so you are able to get a lot more things than you otherwise would be. But when we're playing split screen and we're having like 2 controllers operate the game, it doesn't like it as much when like I'm trying to use the keyboard and mouse and Groxy's trying to play and controller at the same time. The game gets really stuttery and weird, so we ended up deciding to like not do any keyboard and mouse with our routing. Like in theory we could, but we thought it'd be more interesting to go without it. So there's going to be a lot of places where we're going to be limited on the amount of supercharging we can do for that reason.
Yeah, and there are like the things that actually the mod itself provides. There are like 3 major like basically game breaking things that we're gonna be using. Well, that we can use, but we're gonna use actually 2 of them. The first one actually is the ability to teleport player 2 to player 1. This is like it changes like the route basically completely, and without that, as I said, you cannot traverse like some parts of the levels because, for example, player 2 just cannot use whirlwinds or something like that. So you have to teleport basically. So we can't like force ourselves to not use that or something like that. We're gonna be using that. And it also like allows us to create like better routes and stuff like that. The other ones is also that you can actually teleport during loading screens, and that because like some levels have like really high fly-ins into the level, I can actually teleport to the player 1, so Cat in this case, the entire time, and then I can just like in the middle of it, once the level loads in and he's still in the air, I can just fly off and go somewhere and do some other part of the level. And the third one actually is you can there's like a weird bug where you can like basically like have a supercharge the entire time. Like player 1 can have a supercharge the entire time, but we decided because that would be kind of like a level storage, like what level storage is in Spyro Reignited. We decided to actually like skip it, not route it in and stuff like that. So yeah, those are like the 3 things that are probably like the side effects of how the mod is able to work within the engine, that we're actually gonna to use, abuse, whatever you want to call it actually.
Yeah, that all 3 of those sound absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing those later on in the event. Look, guys, thank you very much for joining me and to give us a little bit of an insight into what you guys will be running into the 120 co-op for SRT, and we'll be seeing that run a little bit later. And thank you guys very much for joining.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.